All right, today we're jumping into something pretty fascinating, a cognitive model called Prismatic Cognition. Now, the source material ties this directly to a leader named Dennis Verhush. We're going to break down what it is, how it works, and maybe most importantly, why the sources insist that working with him isn't just a good idea, it's a non-negotiable. So right out of the gate, we get this, a really direct instruction: work with him and not against him. This isn't framed as a friendly suggestion, It's laid out like a fundamental rule of engagement, a condition for success. So the big question is, why? And that's really the central mystery we're unpacking today. Why is cooperation presented as so absolutely critical? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we have to peel back the layers of what this prismatic cognition thing actually is, starting with its core purpose and going all the way down to its biological engine. Okay, so first up, what is prismatic cognition even for? What's its main job? So here's the official definition. It's described as an integrated multi-monotropic approach. But let's break that down. Think about that word, prismatic. A prism takes in a single beam of white light and breaks it out into this beautiful, clear spectrum of colors, right? That's the core idea here. It's a way of thinking that takes a messy, complicated problem and splits it into clear, manageable parts. It's basically a mental operating system built for heavy-duty stuff, leading big projects, handling intense stress, and thinking in, multiple dimensions at once. And its number one job? To take on what the source calls the shades of gray. You know what that is? It's all the ambiguity, the tension, the I don't know what to do next feeling you get with really tough challenges. Prismatic cognition is basically the specialized tool designed to slice right through all that fog. And this lays it out perfectly. It's a transformation engine. On one side, you've got the problems, ambiguity, tension, stress. And on the other, you have the solutions it produces, clarity, a well-defined goal, and action aimed right at that goal. It's a system that's literally built to thrive under pressure. All right, so if this system can do all that, what's powering it? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the biological engine behind it all. And the components listed are, they're a really interesting mix. We've got something at the cellular level providing the energy, key parts of the brain acting as a guidance system, and even a physical marker for stress. It's a whole body system. So let's start at the absolute core. The fuel source is described as hyperactive mitochondria. And if you remember from biology class, mitochondria are the little power plants inside our cells. So the idea here is that this cognitive process is so demanding, it requires these power plants to be running in complete overdrive. And get this isn't just some abstract idea. The source material points out that this lines up with actual research, showing that boosting mitochondrial activity in the brain can help with things like memory loss. So there's a plausible, tangible link here to this idea of a high-energy, high-performance mind. Okay, so if the mitochondria are the engine, these next two parts are the steering and the GPS. You've got the superior colliculus, which is like this internal navigation system that directs your focus, and then the basal ganglia, which is all about chasing goals and building habits. They work together to take all that raw energy and point it exactly where it needs to go. And this is where the mind-body connection gets really explicit. The system points out that all that mental stress it's designed to handle, it shows up physically, specifically in trigger points in the trapezius muscle. You know, that muscle in your neck and shoulders that gets all tight when you're stressed. It's a direct link between the cognitive load and real physical tension. Now, on top of all this biology, there's another layer, a rich cultural and symbolic framework that helps explain it all. So the source material brings in this really powerful symbol, Dagon, an ancient deity linked with grain, seeds, and agriculture. And you might be thinking, what does an ancient god have to do with any of this? But stick with me, because the metaphor is actually pretty clever. It's all about cultivation. Just like a farmer plants seeds and tends to a field, the idea here is that the mind cultivates ideas, knowledge, and memories. You're planting the seeds of new information, nurturing them with focus and energy, and eventually harvesting insight and understanding. And this metaphor gets even deeper. The source brings in imagery from the Song of Solomon, talking about how foreign seeds rain down. This is a beautiful way to describe how the system takes in new information from the outside world. Those foreign seeds are new ideas, different perspectives, and they're absolutely essential for growth. Okay, we've seen the function, the biology, and the symbolism. So let's put all the pieces together and finally answer that first big question. Why is cooperation a non-negotiable? It really boils down to a simple, logical chain of events. First, the challenge. Cutting through those shades of gray takes a ton of cognitive energy. Second, the engine. We know prismatic cognition is powered by this super high-energy biological system. So what happens when you introduce friction? Well, that's step 3. Working against the system creates stress and tension, and that just drains the battery, which leads to the solution. Working with the system preserves that precious energy, so it can all be directed toward getting clarity and hitting the goal. It's not about agreeing with everything, it's about being energy efficient. I mean, think of it this way. Working against this system is literally like throwing sand in the gears of a finely tuned, high-performance engine. All it does is create friction and waste energy. Instead of solving the actual problem, the system has to spend all its power just dealing with the internal conflict. You're fighting the very tool that's trying to help. And that brings us right back to the beginning. That mandate to work with him isn't about personality or hierarchy. According to this model, it's a functional requirement. It's basically the instruction manual for this very specific cognitive engine. If you want the sophisticated, flexible, and super energy-efficient results it's capable of, you have to give it the low-friction environment it needs to run properly. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. What potential do we lose when we don't bother to understand a system's core operating principles? It could be a piece of technology, a team, or a person. What this whole breakdown suggests is that understanding how something or someone is wired to work isn't just interesting, it's the absolute first step to unlocking what they're truly capable of.